president at For a Better Day Foundation, a community-driven organization in support of mental health. Our mission is to raise awareness about mental health conditions, break the stigma, and promote education.
My name is Lynette Shaw, and I am part of the For Better Day Foundation. I am the educational coordinator for mental health. And I'd like to welcome you today to our first podcast of 2023. And we're going to be talking about youth mental health, something that is extremely important to all of us and to our communities.
I would like to ask you, Lynette, why do you think mental health is so important in this age group, education about mental health?
Well, number one, it's because 1 in 5 teens between the ages of 12 and 18, they suffer from at least one diagnosable mental health issue in any given year. And most of the time, when we're talking about young people in an inner city, it's undiagnosed, and it could be more than one. Anxiety is rampant in the community now because of the pandemic, because of inflation, other things that are really difficult, violence in communities. And so anxiety and depression are really high, and really important that we get to our young people. They're our future. And if we don't put that effort out there to get them the help that they need, we're really going to be in trouble as a society.
Totally true. I think that especially this age group falls into the cracks. There are not enough community resources and help for individuals from the ages to 12 to 24. And we can even break it down in groups, from 12 to 16 or 15 to 18 and 19 to 24. There is a lot of limited resources to accessing care. And I think speaking about the adolescents and young adults, a lot of them, they could be going through mental health challenges and they don't even understand what they're going through.
Well, that's why education is so important for this group, of people. If you don't understand what anxiety is, depression is, traumatic issues, adverse childhood experiences, things they may have experienced when they were very young, and now they have behavioral problems. If you don't understand it and they're not educated about it, then how can they be expected to address it? And we are the adults, right? We, I believe, are responsible for detecting that and not just thinking that, hey, my child has a behavioral issue. And a lot of times, young people act out, and you know how teenagers are, they go through that transition. We need to understand the difference between regular adolescent development and when there's a mental health issue. And so that's why adults also need to be educated about this. I think it's vitally important for school systems, teachers, principals, counselors, those who are working with youth, to understand what these, behaviors could be. It's not necessarily a bad child. I don't believe that. People are acting out, or young people are acting out for a reason. And it doesn't have to be just that they're bad or it could be something from their past. It could be an adverse childhood experience. It could be what's going on in the house. It could be stressors from outside and, being able to be with other young people. In relationships, could be bullying, could be all kinds of things. But we need to recognize that, number one, as adults. And then we need to be able to educate our young people so that they can begin to know when it's anxiety or know when it's depression. Because when they know, we can address it. But if they're not educated about it and they're not knowledgeable about it, we know that this community doesn't get, it doesn't get the resources they need. And I think top priority is education first.
And like you mentioned, the caregivers, the parents, teachers, and all of those individuals that are in contact with the youth that are experiencing these challenges, they also need support.
They do.
Because they don't, for them, it's so difficult to understand what those kids are going through and try to find the linkage to the services that and care that they need.
Absolutely, and because we know that a lot of teachers and people who work with youth, they want to get them help, but oftentimes they have undiagnosed issues themselves that have not been,
Addressed in time.
yeah, and it's so funny. I just recently found, I was talking to my therapist, and she was like, you do know that people who have been traumatized or they have adverse childhood experiences, they oftentimes get into service-oriented professions, right? So me as a police officer, I'm a retired police officer, a help position, right? I had terrible adverse childhood experiences that, we won't talk about on this podcast, but I will reveal that at another time. But because of my adverse childhood experiences, I got into a help profession. And so teachers, in the same vein, they want to help young people, right? So many of them have issues, and they had issues from childhood that has not even been addressed either. And so I think education is vitally important for both sides, those who are serving youth and the youth themselves, so that they can begin to help themselves, because we don't want anybody to be dependent upon us to tell them what's wrong with them. They need to be more self-aware, and the way that they can be more self-aware is to educate them.
I think mental health is so broad, right? So extent. I mean, if we want to talk about mental health, it's like there's so many challenges when it comes to mental health illnesses, which is completely different to emotional, behavioral issues, perhaps. So, and I think that everyone in the population in the world, at one point in life, they had experienced mental health challenges.
Absolutely.
Either if they're emotional, anxiety. I mean, with the pandemic alone, I think that a lot of people experience from the toxic stress, anxiety attacks, that a lot of people were thinking that they were having a heart attack, but they were not having a heart attack. They were having an anxiety attack. And then now we're able to learn and see the difference and help other people see the difference. But there's still so much challenges and roadblocks that we have to go through to be able to help those that need care.
Yeah.
And creating this organization and working together with other nonprofit organizations and charities is super essential to be able to facilitate the care, provide the resources, and the help that individuals that are experiencing emotional and mental health challenges need, especially the youth, because like you mentioned before, the youth is so important. It's the future. It's our future.
Absolutely. And, the other thing is that stigma plays a big role in this. Culturally, brown and black children are taught to be strong, and and they use words interchangeably, like crazy and this and that. Yeah, that boy is just crazy or whatever. And they use that kind of, so nobody wants to be crazy. You
need to be strong. You can't cry.
Right, absolutely.
When they're little kids.
Yeah, and culturally, that's ingrained in us. So sometimes you don't want to talk about it. And no, that's not me. I'm not crazy. I don't have anxiety. I don't have depression. Well, I have anxiety. I have depression. I have PTSD. And they were diagnosable illnesses. And the moment that I accepted and learned about those things, I was able to address them. But without that, you're lost. You're lost. Like you were just saying, Leslie, some people think they're having a heart attack and it's an anxiety attack. And that's true. They think something is wrong physically. You know how many people go to the doctor and they can't find out what it is? That they keep getting chest pains, they keep getting headaches, they keep getting pains in their shoulders and stuff like that. And they think that it's a physical thing, but it really is a mental health problem that is manifesting in the body, because your body reacts too. There's a book called The Body Keeps Score. And so
It certainly does.
it does. It absolutely does. And it manifests in many different ways. It can be headaches. And a lot of young people, they don't go to school. You know, it could be stomach problems, different things that, parents might not readily see in their young people. They just see a pattern that, they're always having a headache, or they always have stomach aches or things like that. And they never think to check out, well, what's really wrong? If it's not a physical, if it's not a physical issue, then it quite possibly could be a mental health issue. And there's nothing wrong with having a mental health issue if you learn how to manage it and take care of it. That is what the problem is, and that's why we're here today, because we have to address this issue of mental health in our young people, and we need to make sure that they're okay with learning about it, number one, and then being able to address it and know that there's no shame in it.
And it's okay to ask for help.
Absolutely.
You're not alone. There's a whole community. We all have been through, emotional, mental health challenges, and we are here to support you, to help you, and provide you whatever it is that you need.
Yeah, and again, so today we really wanted to talk about the education portion of this, because too many of our young people, and also those who are taking care of young people, they don't understand mental health issues, and they think it's a bad word. And so today we want to make sure that, our audience knows that it's not a bad word. It's something that we have to continue to talk about, and not just talk about, but to do something about, right? So if our young people need help, we need to be able to vet a therapist, or, there's many different modalities of therapy. It can be art therapy. It could be talk therapy. There's many different modalities that a lot of people in inner city communities, they don't know about. Equestrian therapy, right? That horses, dogs. There's many different types of therapy that could be utilized to help young people to cope with anxiety, to cope with depression.
What is important about creating a community, right? Community of mental health, and this is what we're trying to do. It's motivate the youth that there are groups like us. If there is a program for street cleanup, beach cleanup, that's part of therapy. Just getting involved with other people that go through perhaps the same things that you're going through, relate to them, and ask questions. You'll be able to get information from all these other individuals that can actually help you cope and go through with the issues that you're going through. So it's super important. And going back to ACEs, or adverse childhood experiences, this comes from an actual study from the CDC that they did it many years ago. It's called the Kaiser study.
Yeah.
And it's a survey that they did to individuals with a scale from 0 to 10, questions from 0 to 10. And people that had more than 4 traumatic life experiences, they have high risk factors that they could be linked to risky health behaviors, chronic health conditions, low life potential, and early death.
Yeah.
And that proves that there is no health without mental health.
Absolutely.
And this is why it's super, super important that people understand that, for some individuals, what I notice based on, I'm not a clinician, but I do work with a lot of clinicians, and I have a lot of experience dealing with individuals that they seek for care, is that as it is, going for an annual checkup is hard. People don't usually go unless they're sick.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm only going to go to the doctor to see, I have a cold or flu. But you have to get those routine checkups, and it's super important to add the mental health checkups along with your regular health checkups.
Absolutely. And again, these issues are common, But what happens is, if unaddressed, they become more and more prevalent, and you can get another mental illness. Anxiety could lead to depression. And then if you add that trauma in there from your childhood experience, then now you have a real dysfunctional person that doesn't know which way to go, and they think something's wrong with them because they can't just get it right. And so, it's just very, very important that we take this seriously, that we know that it's nothing wrong with having a mental health issue. People have them all the time with when they lose people that they love, grieving, that's a process that could lead to depression, could lead to anxiety. There's somebody that you had that you love so much, and then now they're not there anymore. How do you cope, right? And so these are life things that happen every single day, but put that on there, put the trauma on top of just regular life issues, and that could be a real big problem.
Taking care of somebody that is ill, that had, healthcare problems, that alone put a lot of stressors on somebody that is already trying to deal with their own. So it's super important to normalize these talks and speak more about mental health. We welcome a lot of people that are willing to help and join us in this cause and this journey and the mission to break the stigma, talk about mental health, and support everybody that is there that needs the support.
Yes, and again, today we wanted to talk about young people, and we know that this population, they're in trouble. 1 in 5 teens, again, 1 in 5 teens have a diagnosable mental illness in any given year. And the other thing is that young people between the age, and I want everybody to remember this, between the ages of 15 and 24, suicide is the second leading cause of death for them. We have to do something.
And those traumas, or the root cause of opioid addictions, is mental health. So let's focus on this age group that is desperate, in need of help. And we can provide the help, but sometimes they don't know where to look for, what to say. So let's spread the word, spread the kindness, spread the love. We have an amazing event coming up, which is called Believe, because there's kindness in the world. I believe in myself. I was lost for a while. I lost myself for a while, as some people might say, oh, what are you talking about? I did. I lost myself for a while, but you know what? I'm taking my power back. Because I went through emotional challenges as well, like everybody else. Not everybody goes through the same things, but we had to learn how to deal with them. And this amazing group of individuals that are coming together and building this mental health community for a better day helped me big time to be able to overcome those challenges and be here now trying to help those that are perhaps in the same position that I was there once, and I'm trying just to get better. Finding a purpose in life is super important. I think I found my purpose. To try to support other individuals, and I think you do too, because you do a lot.
I have, and I'm a part of For a Better Day Foundation because I absolutely believe, and I'm a living example of having gone through major horrific trauma and coming out on the other side of it. Being able to walk and talk and stand upright, and seriously, I should not be able to with the things that I have experienced. And I know there's other people out there that have experienced just as horrific events as I have. Again, we're going to talk about that at another time, but what I want to say to everybody, you have to believe that there is better. You have to believe that you can get better, and you have to believe that there are people out there just like you, and you're not alone. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. It was really a great conversation, Leslie, and we're gonna see you next week for our next podcast, and hope you tune in then. Thank you.